Welcome to Coffee with IOM podcast. We are in Sarajevo, spotlighting two important events organized by IOM mission in Bosnia and Herzegovina and facilitated by Professor Vincent Chetail, one of the leading authorities on international migration law. Professor Chetail teaches international law at the Graduate Institute in Geneva, and he is the director of the Global Migration Center. He has held research posts at Harvard, King's College London, and the European University Institute, and advises governments and international organizations. With more than 20 books and over 70 articles, his work is often referenced by courts, UN bodies, and the media. Earlier this year, in September, IOM organized a workshop for attorneys in Bosnia and Herzegovina to discuss evolving legal landscape and challenges in practicing migration law in the country. Professor Chetail has facilitated this event, and he has now returned to Sarajevo for a new event that focuses on Global Compact for Migration and the EU Pact on Migration and Asylum, bringing together policymakers, practitioners, and experts. Today, we will explore the impact and relevance of both of these events and hear Professor's insight on how Bosnia and Herzegovina is shaping its migration policy. Professor, thank you very much for joining me today. You have obviously held many roles internationally. For young lawyers, law students watching this, can you tell us more about what drew you specifically to this field of law?
Thank you very much. This is always a pleasure to be here with you. I will say, I started in this area where migration was not considered as a major issue, I will say. And many of my colleagues were used to warn me about this field and so on. So I will say to the younger generation, don't take necessarily too seriously the advice of others and follow your path, first of all, and still believe in what you really want to do, frankly, because at some point, this is what is the most important as such. And at the end, it's better to believe in what you want to do in life than following the advice of others, because this is a way for you to realize yourself, but also at the end, something will happen in the sense that as soon as you are working in an area, you are bound to learn more, and obviously then you are able to improve yourself and so on.
Thank you. Migration law is clearly not just a set of rules. It is deeply connected to the human stories and experiences of individuals. In your view, how should lawyers balance the demanding legal framework and humanitarian realities that migrants face and live?
This is probably the most important challenge, and also what is the most interesting in this field. Clearly, the agency of human beings who are moving from one place to another for many good reasons, and on the other hand, the need for a predictable legal framework. So obviously, this dilemma is at the heart of this field, but like humanitarian law and the law governing war also, in the sense that obviously there is this ongoing tension between human aspiration and predictability. Then clearly to be in line with one's own objective and values, and to be in line, law can be also a way to pacify the reality and to help migrants to take the best of the world also. Obviously, we should not be naive and thinking law only as something which is good in itself, because of course law is also reflecting some broader infrastructures as such. But what matters is to keep in line this constant balancing act between the fundamental rights of migrants and the need for a predictable framework as such.
What you explain is connected to my next questions, and a question I think you partially answered. What does it mean practically to keep migration people-centered? I'm interested in your view on how do small design choices make big difference. For example, if we share a informative material with migrants on their rights and obligations in a certain country in terms of access to information, or if a country adopts a bylaw which details the procedure for accessing certain regular pathway, how does this play a role into the bigger picture, and what is the bigger picture with these steps?
This is a good question because clearly, migration is much more than the movement of persons across borders. Migration is about the world where we are living, and migration is a reaction about our world. So whether to flee conflict, persecution, or simply to find better opportunities abroad. So clearly, migration is a total fact as such, which is closely related to our globalized world and this tension between the national level and the broader ones. So the broader picture is the world and all its transformation as such. And obviously, our modest role as lawyers, advisors, experts is to help to bring some coherence and some clarity in the confusion of the world. And I think this is important. And obviously, the need for properly channeled lawful pathways, to give the example you mentioned, is absolutely key. Because migration is also a reaction to not only our world, but also to the lack of proper legislative framework, which also needs to be amended in the sense that we cannot address this issue without taking into account the reality of migration, without taking into account the drivers of migration, and the fact that there is a huge demand also in the labor market.
If Bosnia and Herzegovina fully leans into the GCM cooperative ethos and the EU Pact system design as it is currently, how do you see good migration governance in Bosnia and Herzegovina in five years from now?
I mean, what is very appealing with Bosnia and Herzegovina and the many people I've met so far is clearly a world in miniature where all the ongoing trends are exemplified, if not exacerbated. So, of course, Bosnia and Herzegovina is a typical case of a country which is in the same time a country of origin, transit, and destination. Of course, that there are many parameters. It is at the heart of the European continent, but not in the EU, at least for the time now. And obviously, there are many driving forces surrounding the political, social landscape as such. In terms of good governance, I would say, I think that the GCM, the Global Compact for Safe, Orderly and Regular Migration, is clearly a good answer as such because it gives enough room for national ownership, because the states are also bound to take this issue according to their own priorities. But a good example because while preserving some margin of appreciation, it is offering a framework of actions. And typically, when we are talking about governance, the role of government approach, the role of society approach, acknowledging migration as a cross-cutting reality and calling for broad and inclusive governance, including all actors. So, of course, all actors from the government, but civil society, private sector, UN agencies. So clearly, moving on with this wall of society and wall of government approach is perhaps something key. Again, as it stands now, Bosnia and Herzegovina has a very solid ratification status, I mean, with many key treaties in this area and involved in the two compacts as such. So clearly then this is more a question of making these frameworks a reality and clearly integrating these frameworks in a sort of daily practice as such. Yeah.
In my final question, I will try to sort of integrate what we discussed so far and ask for some advice and guidance on concretely IOM's work in Bosnia and Herzegovina. In line with your current knowledge and understanding of Bosnia and Herzegovina's migration management system and IOM's work in the country, what should be our focus, if you can say 2 or 3 priorities in the upcoming years?
Very good point. And I mean, this is a very, I would say, subjective, obviously. I was intriguing when I discussed with several key stakeholders here. I think one very important issue could be the labor migration. I think how to establish lawful pathways for labor mobility, because clearly this is probably one of the key challenge, how to make our migration legislation in accordance with the labor needs as such. And there is a room for a country to take this seriously beyond any politicization to show that it can work. And clearly, Bosnia and Herzegovina can be this country with the support of IOM. So it will be for me the first illustration. And then beyond lawful pathways, there are many other aspects that could be a way for IOM as such, but clearly making sure that all the migration proceedings are predictable, in line with international standards, in order to help TIS to make the ratification status a concrete reality for the migrants will be a great achievement also for IOM as such.
Thank you very much for this conversation, and we look forward to seeing you again in Bosnia and Herzegovina.
Thank you very much. This was a pleasure.